Good morning, friends. It's time for a midweek moment. I haven't done one of these in a very long time. But today I was just stricken by God's word as I was reading from Psalms 119. And I just wanted to share it with you. So I hope it is as encouraging to you as it was to me this morning. So Psalms 119, it's like the longest Psalms in the Bible. And as I was reading it, it is mostly about the beauty of God's word and wanting to be obedient to God's word and the blessing that comes from that. And two verses jumped out at me today that I wanted to share with you. The first one was Psalms 119:28, and it says this: "My soul is weary with sorrow. Strengthen me according to your word." And the word strengthen in the Hebrew is yemeni, I think. And the idea of that is that I stand. Okay, so I am able to stand. I am strengthened according to your word. And I think the idea of this verse is that I can only stand when I am weary with sorrow because of God's word. The hope that I find in God's word, the character of God himself, standing on his promises. These are all things that enable me to stand in the midst of deep sorrow, when really the only thing I'd like to do is dig a hole and hide my head kind of thing, right? God's word enables me to stand in the midst of sorrow. The other verse that stood out to me that kind of went along with it is verse 50 of Psalm 119. And it says this: "My comfort in my suffering is this, that your promise preserves my life." And I was thinking about that, God's promise preserving my life in times of great suffering, and how that can be a comfort to us. And so I looked that up in the Hebrew, and the word for preserve is chaya. It actually means gives me life. Your promise gives me life. See, the promises of God that we find in his word actually sustains me. It nourishes me. It keeps me going in the midst of suffering, in the midst of times of great sorrow. And this week has been a hard week for a lot of people that I know. A lot of friends have lost people close to them. And it has just been a rough week for so many, and myself included. There are times where my soul is weary with sorrow because I see so much hurt and brokenness around me. And yet, God's word and his promises are what sustains me. So I hope that if you are weary with sorrow, if you are suffering right now, whether it's because of loss or because you're watching a loved one decline or because of struggles with your kids, whatever it could be, I hope that you would turn to God's word and that you would allow it to wash over you, that you would allow it to help you to stand in the midst of your suffering, and that you would allow it to comfort you in times of great sorrow. Because it's in God's word where we see him. We see the hope of the gospel, and we see great mercy and love, compassion, and strength. Be well, friends. Bye.